Hi, I'm Shannon with the Shannon Jones Team at Keller Williams. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with Mary Shuck at Movement Mortgage. Thank you so much, Mary, for being here. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So, today we wanted to talk a little bit about down payment assistance programs for buyers. I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there from people still about how much money is needed for a down payment. Um, Mary, how many people would you say actually you work with a lot of borrowers? How many of them are actually putting like 20% down or more?
I would say less than half. Definitely.
Okay.
Maybe a third are
Mm-hmm.
actually putting 20% down or more. Um, there's so, if that, you know, it might even be less than that because people don't realize that you can come in as little as 3% down, as little as
Mm-hmm.
3.5% down. So when they start to realize it, instead of putting all their money, they can invest in a little bit more by putting less.
Okay. And so, what is, so 3%? Tell me a little bit about the various, like low down payment, loan options that are available for buyers at this point.
Okay, so now I'm going to get lender boring. So I'll get with the guidelines. So 3% down, you can go as low as 3% down if your purchase price, if your loan amount is no more than 510,400. If it's above that to 765,000, this is loan amount, not purchase price, then you can put as little as 5% down. That's on a conventional loan. As
Hmm.
far as an FHA loan, you only need to put 3.5% down. FHA loan is a different type of loan. And then on top of that, there's other accessible programs. There's a down payment assistance because some people don't even have the 3.5%, or what they don't realize is I have the 3% or I have the 3.5%, but I don't have enough money for closing costs, and they don't realize title and escrow fees and things like that. So they might need a little bit of help there. So do you want me to, am I boring?
No, no,
Okay,
this
perfect.
is great information. Here's the thing, for a lot of buyers, I think that the process of buying a home is very overwhelming. And I know when I bought my first home, I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way we'll qualify, and there's no way we have enough money for a down payment. And we were scraping together the amount for an FHA 3.5%. And we didn't realize that there were also closing costs on top, and that on top of that, we were supposed to have reserves. And our lender did not share that information with us. She's still in business now, I will say, and I don't work with her, but we didn't know that we had to have this. And so I think that it's so important for buyers to educate themselves upfront and find out what is required. So whether they're ready to do this now or down the road, they know what the options are and how to proceed. So if somebody wanted to find out what loan programs are available and what they'd qualify for and what their options are, what should they do?
Call me.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
But one of the things is there's a lot of different things. Actually, what they should do is reach out to you, and I can send you some links because there's also down payment assistance programs.
So let's talk about that. We
Okay.
we let people know we were going to be talking about down payment assistance programs. It looks like we do have a few people live joining us. And please, if y'all have questions, I think I can see the comments. So share that with me, and I will pass those along to Mary. And if you're watching this later, because a lot of times people, oh, and I have a comment there. Lori McKee has a smiley face. So thanks, Lori. Um, if people have questions, they can reach out to us afterwards as well, because a lot of viewers will maybe watch this later, and either Mary or I are happy to be a resource and answer questions. So let's talk a little bit about the down payment assistance programs that are available. How do people find out if they qualify, and what do they look like? How much assistance is there? From where?
There's such a variety. So I'm going to tell you, I'll start with like two big programs. There's something
Okay.
called the Golden State Finance Authority,
Mm-hmm.
which is a grant program. And that is forgiven within 3 years. So they can grant you a certain percent of money. It's forgiven in 3 years. If you are a police officer, a teacher, a first responder, it is forgiven immediately.
Wow.
So the interest rate's a little bit higher than on a regular loans right now, but with interest rates so low, it's even lower than low interest rates were a year ago.
So
this
what,
is
how much
definitely-
higher than like the prevailing interest rate would that
I
program
would
be?
say on that one, I would say the GSFA is maybe 1 1/8 higher,
Okay.
and the
so, uh-huh.
CalHalfa programs, those are maybe 3/4 of a point to a point higher. Which, let's put it this way, on an FHA loan, and if you got 3% towards your down payment plus an additional percentage for closing costs. And I had done a scenario. I can't share the screen right now. It wasn't working, but I wanted to show I'd done a scenario, and somebody could buy a home for let's say I just did a sample of 400,000. How much would they have to bring? And it's about 22,000. So, I mean, 2,200. Sorry.
I was going to say 22,000 doesn't seem like but
2,200.
2,200. I mean, here's the thing. Think about it. If you're buying, let's say, at 400,000, if you were renting an equivalent place and you were coming in with your first month's rent and a deposit, you'd have to come up with more than 2,200 to
Right.
get into a new rental than potentially you would if you were able to utilize one of these down payment assistance programs. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
and there are times when it all depends on the scenarios and the price points. I just happened to run the scenario on that one, doing the maximum that we can get. And that would be with the highest FHA rate that they have, which is a 3.125.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. Look at how low that is, the 3.125 right now on a down payment assistance program where you're not really having to come in with the money.
That's great.
So I would love, if anybody's interested, I would love to send a link to their sites. They can reach out to you and actually go over. I'd love to teach them a tool. There's a certain tool that I can show them that they can put in their own scenarios and see, okay, if I'm looking at property at this much, I can give them how much to estimate for closing costs. And they can keep playing around to see where they're comfortable with. So
that's great.
it's a great scenario. And it actually gives a link to, because the ones who set the pricing on the CalHalfa is CalHalfa. So it even gives them a link to access the pricing and the interest rate per day, so they can check on that. So I think that would be a really good tool for people to kind of play around if they're kind of looking into it. Can always call me and I can run numbers, but if someone's just kind of curious how it works, I can walk them through how to use that tool.
Okay, that's great. So if you're watching this, I will, where this is posted, I will share later. Mary will get me that link and I'll make sure to get it. If you would like for us to get you that link, you can email me info, INFO, at showmehome.com. So info@showmehome.com, and I'll make sure that we get that link from Mary to share with you. It looks like we do have a question from Lori McKee. She says, I have a son with autism and read about FNMA Community Home Choice. Is there anything that you can share about that? Are you aware of that program, Mary?
Yeah, and I think those are special, those special homes that are listed.
Okay. All right.
There is different programs out there. I was talking about the two main down payment assistance programs.
Okay.
You can come back and just like that assistance, it's the same as, I think, because you're part of the Pacific West Association of Realtors, sometimes they have a program where they can lend up to like $3,000 or $5,000. I don't know if it's still full or not, but they can help towards closing costs. Sometimes certain cities and certain communities, so that might be another community, can also help towards closing costs. So basically, when they're looking, I would look at every program that's available in that area and see which is the best fit and what you need. It's kind of like, how much do they need? Some people might need a little bit. Some people need almost the whole enchilada.
So if somebody does need assistance and they come to you and they say, here's what we've got, and it doesn't actually cover the full, let's say, down payment and closing costs, do you help them like research the different programs that are available?
Absolutely.
Do you have like a list of the programs that are available?
Absolutely.
So it depends on, maybe it sounds like what the job is, as well as the income, as well as do they have any special needs and what community are they in and what community they're buying in. All of those could be factors in terms of the programs that are available. It sounds like it's a very individual situation. Is that correct?
What it is that's how you can add to it. So there's certain programs that have, yes, everyone's going to be individual. Not everybody qualifies. I'll give you an example. With the CalHFA, you have to have a 660 FICO score. But if somebody had less than a 660, that doesn't mean they can't go FHA if they had 3.5% down. And a lender can always, when people say we'll help with lender credit, just to know, that means the lender's going to increase their interest rate a little bit to help with the credit. But with interest rates so low, that might be worth it. So sometimes somebody might have, like when you were saying, just to scrape that 3.5, a lender credit, if the interest rate went up, 0.75%, but you got $5,000 towards closing costs or $4,000 towards closing costs, it might be worth it, right? You're not worrying about, and then most of the time people will refinance out of the FHA, build on getting that credit score up, and then go into a conventional. So there's so many options out there, but a lot of people do, you're right, they're very mistaken and think you need to have 20%, or they think it's a lot harder than it actually is to really see where you're at and where you need to be.
And so as far as qualifying for the down payment assistance programs, it sounds like credit score is one of the things that's looked at, and is also income.
Yes. And I cannot share the screen, but I'm going to disappear for 1 second, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay, let me see where it's at right here, because they just came out with the new income. And I want to tell you income limits. And this one, actually, if they email you and they want this, I can send the whole list of income limits, all of California. But Orange County is, you can't make more than $203,000 a year. And Los Angeles County, not more than $153,000. Let me go back.
But if you have a combined income of $203,000, I mean, you're qualifying for a pretty good sized mortgage, correct?
Exactly. And one person may qualify. So it's only going to be that combined income. Let's say you have a husband and wife and they're doing a conventional loan. So you don't need to have both of them involved, right? They can both be on title, but you only need one of them. The one may qualify by themselves. So you just don't put the other one in the calculation of the loan. You just add them to title. You've now managed to stay below the income limit.
Okay. And so as long as they're able to qualify for the mortgage based on the one income, and then have that one income below what that income limit is for qualifying for the assistance, then they're able to utilize the assistance. Am I following you correctly?
Yes. Because it used to be all the household member income. So now it's not. Now it's just whoever's going to be on the loan.
Interesting.
So that's nice.
Yeah. What about the city down payment assistance programs with grants and stuff? Are those still around, or are those mostly gone?
I know I just found there was one in Riverside County. I'd have to look around. There are a lot of different options out there. Los Angeles County, I can't say for sure right now, but I know, oh gosh. I think it was out in like Palmdale or something. There was some kind of program going on, but there are different programs available still there.
So again, it just depends on what they're looking for, where they're looking, and then you can help them, and how much, and then you can help them evaluate what there are, because you've got access.
Yeah.
So
city programs are a lot tighter on the income, and you have to make less. So that's why CalHFA is probably my go-to, and the GSFA grant. people are just very surprised on how much help they get.
Okay. Rocio has joined us as well. Hi, Rocio. And she says, what website do you recommend checking for credit score? Gosh, there's a lot of choices. I get those in my email all the time. Check here, check there.
There is, and here's what's funny when people don't understand. When you pull credit for a mortgage pull, it's a completely different algorithms that they use. You can have your credit pulled to buy a car, for a credit card, and a mortgage all on the same day, and all three could be different scores because they're looking at different items. And so what people don't know is the credit bureaus themselves are not the ones who really score you. It's going to be whatever algorithms are needed for the type of credit that you need. But as much as I think that Credit Karma is kind of like Zillow, so not like the best, I still think it's better than not checking anything for credit. And then a lot of times people don't realize what I do suggest on credit is you can get a free credit report every year. And you can get your TransUnion, your Equifax, and your Experian every single year. You can get that free credit report. It's a good idea to always check that and get one every year.
And so are you suggesting going directly to those sites or going to like
Here's one that
Credit Karma?
I don't have it exactly with me, but there is a site that I can send you that link as well, which is to get the free credit report, and it gets them from all three of them. So
Okay.
I'll send you that site as well, because I do suggest checking. A lot of times people don't know that somebody's run credit with the wrong, they missed a social. Like a creditor could be running your numbers. You can be going to Victoria's Secrets or Lane Bryant or Target, and you apply for a card and a name's ran wrong, a number's ran wrong on the social. And it can actually ding your credit in certain ways, which you don't know because it's grabbing information that belonged to somebody else, especially with the socials. That's happened before.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, what we'll do is just to kind of recap, you can go someplace like a Credit Karma, and it's kind of like a Zillow is for a home estimate, a good start at figuring out where you are and if there's any erroneous things that are popping up on your credit. And I have gone there, and it does show pretty accurately what the balance is on my current mortgage as well as on my credit cards. But you don't want to rely on that thoroughly for what your credit score is, because lenders are actually using a slightly different algorithm. And so if you want the actual scores from Experian or TRW or FICO, then we're going to provide the actual link where you can get those one time a year for free. And so we will be posting this video, a recording of it on our website after it's all done in the next day or two. And I will add those links along with a synopsis and some other information where you can find that. Any other questions? And Mary, do you have anything that you want to add as tips for buyers who want to utilize down payment assistance, or for first-time buyers who want to look into loan options overall?
I would have to say, no matter who you use as the first-time home buyer, if you're a first-time home buyer, you need somebody who's really going to explain it. You explained it very well, Shannon, how your experience was. That's how mine was. That's why I love to be able to educate the buyer. Because this is going to be one of the largest investments you have. And so you have to really understand it. And it's a great investment. And so you need to have somebody who's actually going to not act too busy for you, but be able to walk you through the process step by steps, not to make you feel that a question is too big or too small, So that's number one. You need to feel comfortable and you need to understand the process. Yeah. I would say that. And you need to have somebody who has the knowledge.
Yeah, that's such great advice. I will tell you, I flipped out when we went to go sign our loan documents on our first home. Nobody had told me like what the time frame was, and that we were going to be like, oh, now it's time to sign that. Like, nobody told me what the timeline was, and there we were. And then they said, and you need to sign this letter of explanation. And I said, for what? And they said, for a tax lien. And I said, for a tax lien? What do you mean a tax lien? Like, isn't that something I should know about? Well, my last name is Jones. I am married to a Brad Jones. There are probably many Brad Joneses who have tax liens, but we were supposed to be signing this thing that said it wasn't our tax lien. And that's fine. But it was just kind of like, oh, and sign this. And like, excuse me, could you let me know something about it ahead of time? So,
Yeah.
yeah. Matthew is saying, I recommend people choose one of the 3 bureaus every 4 months to get regular credit reports so one doesn't have to wait a full year for any info. That's a really good tip to kind of cycle through and do one, and then that way you don't have surprises. So thank you, Matthew. Good suggestion. Yeah, I like that. Any other tips? Nope. Get educated for sure. I think that's definitely the biggest one, because one thing I will say is that in real estate, there are never good surprises. I've never had somebody buy a house where suddenly there was, like the chest full of gold coins in the attic. It's, but the more information you have, the more enjoyable and rewarding and successful the process will be. So Mary's happy to be a resource for you, whether you are planning to buy soon or someday, as am I and the rest of our team. It looks like we have one more comment. Do you use Rapid Rescore when someone's working on getting their score up? I've been using an Experian service.
So when it comes to the mortgage, as far as doing the Rapid Rescore, there's a couple things. Like if somebody's already working with somebody to getting the scores up, I always tell them to talk to the credit repair company that they're working with before I would even pull their credit, to see kind of where they're at, what's going on, because you don't want to disrupt the process. I don't ever want to do that and then cause a problem. The other thing is, yeah, I actually have one right now, and it's kind of silly. I mean, the score was like 719. And then to get the best rates is 740. The next step up on the rate is going to be a 720. So it's silly for them not to just get a Rapid Rescore. So basically there's an analysis that we do. I don't personally do it. We have a program that we put it through. It tells you if you pay this to this amount, or it can give you a couple little clues of what to do to bring your score up and jump at that amount. Some people, it's a quick fix like that. Some people, it's going to be a time, might be 6 months out. So
it probably just depends on what the issue is, potentially, that is keeping the score where it is, and how far they are from the target where they get the better pricing.
Right, because some people might just not have any credit, so that's going to take a while to establish credit. Other people, it might be like, you know what, you need to pay this down, or oh, you have a zero balance on this open line, but if you put $20, it actually will jump it up like 10 points. It has different things, that it'll. There's different tips, so we can run each of those scenarios, but you can tell which ones, like right away, or it's going to take a little bit, and the other one where you're like, oh, you know what, I think we have a quick fix for this. Let's check it out.
Wonderful. Well, Mary, thank you so much for your time, and to those of you who joined us live, and anyone who watches later, we appreciate you joining us. And stay safe, stay healthy, and take care. Thanks a lot.
And okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.